In this video, I'm going to show you how to pronounce all the French nasal sounds and when to pronounce them. Let's see how it works. The first nasal sound we have is un. It's small and round. Un. So this one can be spelled with on or om. But in both cases, we're not going to pronounce the n or the m. Okay, so I'm not going to say on or It's going to be un. And we're going to say that sound when we have a consonant right after or nothing. Let's see a few examples. In the first one, I have bonjour. I'm not going to say bonjour, but bonjour. It means good morning or good afternoon. So here, see that I have the consonant sound right here. Okay, so that will allow me to pronounce the nasal sound here. Let's see the next one. Bon, which means good. Here, I don't have a vowel, I don't have a consonant sound, I don't have anything. So I'm going to automatically pronounce that nasal sound. Okay? And then it's going to be the same for OM. So let's see the next one. Une bombe, a bomb. Okay? Here I have OM and it's followed by a consonant sound, B, which means I have to pronounce that nasal sound, une bombe. And the last one, un nom, which means a name. Here, we don't have anything right after this OM, so we're going to pronounce the nasal sound un. Okay? Okay, now let's see what happens if we have this ON or OM followed by another N or another M. So in that case, we're not going to pronounce the nasal sound. Let's see an example. For example, here I have the word bonnet. Okay, so we have ON, but we have another N in here. And then we have a vowel sound. So if you see a double N like this, the nasal sound is cancelled. Okay, so in that case, I'm not going to say bonnet, I'm going to say bonnet. Okay, it's a small O. Bonnet. Okay, so same thing if you have ON followed by a vowel sound. In that case, the nasal sound is cancelled. Okay, so I'm not going to say bonus. I'm going to say bonus. Bonus. Can you hear the difference? So this is O. Now, let's see that your word ends with a consonant sound. Here I have double N, but it ends in an E, which means that the word ends with a consonant sound. So it's going to be bonne. And see that here I open my mouth more. Bonne. So in the first example, I have bonnet, then bonus, and then bonne. I open here, bonne. And remember, the nasal sound was You need to feel it in your nose there. Okay? So it's not going to be a nasal sound here. It's going to be the same thing with OM. So here I have double M, which means the nasal sound is cancelled. And here I'm going to pronounce it no me, no me. And here it's going to be no mine, no mine. And here, because the word ends with a consonant sound, okay, I'm going to open a little bit more. Je nomme, je nomme. Okay? So just for your information, so bonnet means a beanie or a winter hat. Bonus is bonus, it's the same. Bonne means good, but feminine version. Nommer means to name. Nominer, nominate. And je nomme means I name, meaning I name someone. Okay? Okay, here I wanted to show you a special case of liaison. So, a liaison is specific connection we make between specific words. And among those specific words we need to connect, we have a connection or a liaison that we have to make between an adjective followed by a noun. So, an adjective and a noun. Okay? And there's this adjective that we use a lot, which is bon. Okay, that's the one I showed you, right? So if you follow the logic, right, of the rules, then we should read this bon anniversaire, which means literally good birthday or happy birthday. Okay, but because we have to make a connection between an adjective and a noun, in that case, it's going to cancel that nasal sound on. Okay, so instead of saying bon anniversaire, I'm going to say bon anniversaire, bon anniversaire, actually. So see that it's not going to be bon anniversaire or bon anniversaire, but bon. And you're going to open that O. It's the big O. Okay, oh, bon anniversaire. And here it's going to be the same. So we have in this, how do you say, in the second example, we have un bon ami, okay? And in the third one, I have bon appétit. So I don't say bon appétit, okay? Bon appétit. It sounds like one word almost, okay? Bon appétit, I'm pretty sure you know that one. By the way, bon ami means a good friend. Okay? So here I'm just going to repeat everything here. Bon anniversaire, un bon ami, bon appétit. Ça va? The next nasal sound is en. I call it the drop jaw nasal sound because you just drop your jaw en, like this. Okay? And it has four different spellings. So it could be A-N, A-M, E-N, or E-M. Okay? And these letters, these groups of letters, are going to be followed by a consonant sound. Okay, let's see how it works. The first one I have here is enchanté. See, here you're not going to say enchanté, but enchanté. Okay? Enchanted, but literally, but it actually means nice to meet you. Okay? Enchanté. Next one is la lampe. You have, I mean, in English you say lamp, but we say lampe. Okay? And next one is emporter. Emporter. It means to take something away. Okay? Same thing here. I'm not going to say emporter. Okay? Emporter. And let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So there's something you have to be careful with is this one here, the en. If you have a word ending in en, so you're not going to pronounce this sound en, but you're going to pronounce this sound un, which is the next nasal sound I'm going to show you soon. So this one is the smiling nasal sound. So see how I change the shape of the lips? So it's going to be un. For example, if you want to say a dog, like here, it's going to be un chien. So the un here is going to be pronounced the same way. Un chien. Okay? So that's only if you have en at the end of a word, right? So you're going to pronounce it un. But if you have an at the end of a word, then it's the nasal sound en. Okay? For example, you have here un flan, a flan. Okay? Now, let's see what happens if you have a double M or a double N. So, if we take this spelling, AN and AM, okay, right here, I'm going to have, for example, here, annulé. So, if you have AN followed by another N and then a vowel sound, then the nasal sound is cancelled. So, I'm not going to say annulé, I'm going to say annulé. Okay, so the sound here, a, is right here, right? Annulé. Same thing if you have an followed by a vowel sound. So the nasal sound is cancelled. So you're going to say here, for example, paniquer, paniquer. Okay, so this word, by the way, means cancel, annuler, and paniquer means to panic. Okay, now let's say that you have am followed by another m. For example, une flamme. Une flamme means a flame. And see that the nasal sound is cancelled. Okay, it's a sound. Same thing if you have am followed by a vowel, then it's going to be cancelled. Here it's going to be une dame. Okay, une dame. But be careful if you have en or em followed by another n or m. In this case, you're going to keep the nasal sound, especially if you have it in the beginning of the word. It's very common. For example, here I have emmener. Emmener. Okay? So I keep the nasal sound. Emmener means to bring someone somewhere. Okay? And the next one is enneigé. Enneigé, which means covered with snow. Okay? Now, let's say that you have em or en followed by a vowel. In that case, the nasal sound is cancelled. Okay, so for example, here I have premier. So I'm going to pronounce the E like E, E. So you have the sound here, right here. Premier. And here I'm going to read le menu. Okay, premier means first, le menu means the menu. It's the same. Okay, now we have a few words ending in emme, and for a few of these words, you're not going to pronounce the E here or the nasal sound. You're going to pronounce this as a. Okay, so here it's we have the woman and we say la femme. Okay, so same here for récemment. Okay, that's recently. It's going to be pronounced as a. So here I'm showing you two very, very common words we use in everyday conversations using emme. It's usually in the last part of a word. These words are very common, so you can try to remember them. I wanted to show you also something that is really important, and it's about verbs conjugated with they, with the pronoun they, right? So when you conjugate verbs with they in present tense, you're going to have the ending ent at the end, right? But for all the verbs conjugated with they in present tense, ending in ent, you're not going to pronounce the nasal sound en. Okay? So, for example, here I have the verb manger, to eat, conjugated with the pronoun they, masculine in French. So, you're not going to say ils mangeant. Okay? So, it's always going to be cancelled. I mean, the whole sound is cancelled, and you're just going to keep the consonant sound that is right before. So here I'm going to say il mange, and you're going to stop at the j sound. Okay? No, you're not going to say il mangeant. Okay? So that's one. The other thing is for irregular verbs. For example, I have two here that are very common. Prendre, which is to take, and venir, which means to come. And when you conjugate it with they, it's going to be ils prennent. Okay, so it's going to be that open I, like this. Ils prennent. So you're not going to say ils prennent or ils prennent. Okay? Ils prennent. Same thing here. You're going to say ils viennent. Ils viennent. Okay? Not ils viennent or ils viennent. Okay? The last nasal sound I wanted to show you is the sound. So it's the smiling nasal sound. So you really need to have your lips here going up, like this. Okay? And it has a lot of different spellings. So here we have UN, UM, IN, and IM. These are really, really common. Okay. Next one also is really common, AIN. And from here to here, it's going to be a little bit less common. Okay. So you're going to have AIM, EIN, and EIM. Okay, so you're going to pronounce these groups of letters when you're going to have a consonant right after or nothing. All right, let's see how it works. Here I have un parfum. Un. So a lot of times foreigners pronounce un parfum, and they keep the position that is supposed to be for the previous nasal sound, which is on, the drop jaw one, on. And a lot of times it's hard to know what you're saying, because if you don't have the right shape of the mouth, the sound is not going to come out properly. And for us, there's a big difference between on and on. Right now, you might not be used to hear these two sounds, so they might seem very similar, or they sound very similar, but to us is a big difference. So you really need to have this smiling nasal sound to make the difference. So here I'm going to say un parfum, un parfum. Okay, a perfume. Next one is du vin. This is wine. Du vin. Next one, important. Okay, I know it's very similar to English, right? But we don't pronounce the M there. Be careful. Next one, le train. See, I don't say train or train. Ouais? Le train. Next one, j'ai faim. Next one, la peinture. By the way, j'ai faim means I'm hungry, and la peinture is painting. And the next one is Reims. So usually we don't pronounce the S at the end of a word, but this is a city and it's an exception. So Reims. Okay. Okay, now let's see what happens if we have a vowel right after these groups of letters, or a double M or a double N. Let's see the first one. We had un parfum, a perfume. If I add a vowel after these two words, right, it's going to become une parfumerie. See, the nasal sound is cancelled here. And to be able to make that U, remember, the tip of the tongue has to touch the bottom teeth. Une parfumerie. This means a perfume shop. So for this one, it's not common to see words with U double M. So it's more common to see a vowel right after O, consonant or nothing at all. Okay? For the next one, we have du vin, which means wine, right? Now, if I have a word with the same group of letters, but followed by a vowel sound, then we're going to pronounce I. Du vinaigre. That's vinegar. Okay? Vinaigre. Next one, important. Let's see. So here we have I am followed by a consonant sound. But what happens if you have another M there? In that case, the nasal sound is cancelled and you're going to pronounce this E. Immortel, for example. You're going to see that a lot, by the way. And you also going to see double N. Okay. For example, innocent, we say innocent. Okay. So that's for the IM and the IN. Okay. Let's see the next one. Le train. So here, if I add a vowel, it's going to become traîne. Je traîne. And that's the open E. Je traîne. Je traîne means I'm taking time to do something. Je traîne. And for this one, it's not common to see AINN. Okay. So this is the most common groups of letters you're going to see together. AIN with a consonant right after or a vowel right after. Next one is j'ai faim. I'm hungry. If you add an E right after, it's going to become j'aime. Okay? J'aime means I like. All right? For the next one, we have la peinture, the painting. And if you have a word with the same group of letters but followed by a vowel, then it's going to be pen, pen. Okay? So it's going to be the same like here. Ça va? And that's it for the nasal sounds. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!